The country Nigeria is warning her citizens to be careful with the number of children they give birth to or are planning to give birth to, as it is of no importance the many children one gives birth to when cannot take good care of them. It became necessary for it to advise the citizens to control their birth, having considered even individuals, in spite of their struggle in the present Nigeria, are still finding it difficult to meet their needs. The said Nigeria, you can call it the Nigerian present condition, is also advising some young graduates and some who are schooling to be employed, but not for the purpose to gain more knowledge of the need to develop their skills and talent and stop wasting their time waiting for the government to employ them. In the midst of the Nigerian present condition advising the youth, I fell asleep and started dreaming. In the dream, I saw a female of over 30 years selling eggs in a small white container, and that was what her whole capital could afford. As I looked back, I saw a male adult of over 35 years looking for money to pay in order to learn craft rather. Both the male looking for money to pay to learn craft and the female selling eggs are graduates who kept waiting for the government to employ them until they reached their present age with one story to tell that the government failed to employ us. And in that dream, with the knowledge I have of some people who are employed by the government and are not fully paid by the same government, and also who graduate but are not employed, then asked those graduates, why not take the victims in the society as an example so as to learn to do without the support of the government? Are you not aware of what is happening? And they replied, we are aware even of some who are employed but are not for once being paid, and how many retirees got struck as a reward from the government after their many years of service instead of their entitlement. We are also not ignorant on how some graduates waited in vain for government employment, but we thought in their case were cursed by their ancestors, which was why they could not secure a government job, or when secured are not being paid. Having heard them speak, I was silent for a moment and said, now, will you please help some of the ignorant ones waiting or coming to join the queue to be employed by the government? And they answered, even if we do, they will not believe it just like we did. They will always believe that their case will be different. It was then that I shouted and got up from my dreams and still had the Nigerian condition saying plainly, woe unto him that will give out his lamb because he has been promised electricity, who says valuable for education in the names to be employed later by the government. For it is wisdom for the eyes to make use of what they have seen. And as the Nigerian condition was yet speaking, 3 unwise persons were still conversing, one to sell his house, another to sell his shop, and the other to sell his land, to go to school for the purpose to be employed in the future. The Nigerian condition having made all points clear to yet see people giving out their valuable possessions for what is no longer able to meet the expectations of many citizens these days, then became sad. And out of pity for the citizens began to say, you will maintain backwardness with this mentality. You ought to have valued and promote what you have, especially being aware of what is happening in the country. You are missed working for the government without paid or not being paid in full, and also not being employed, having graduated to yet sell your house, land, and shop for school for the purpose to be employed despite my advice, is making me to believe what I did not disclose to you that others said about you. Please be wise, Nigerians, and stop depending on the government, as the country itself is rather looking for who it will depend, the Nigerian present condition warned.